let's get to the football. And that is, we're going to start out with the third Saturday in October. Alabama going on the road at Tennessee. 9 out of 10 times, this is the game of the week. This is the anchor of the college football slate. But with the way Georgia and Texas look, justifiably it can be the 1B of the week. Let me just say, this game has everything, whether it's the rivalry. These two teams absolutely despise each other. I grew up going to Neyland Stadium. I've been to Bryant-Denny. There is no love lost for any of these two programs. Can't stand each other. The rivalry aspect is awesome. The stakes. This game is what I call a PEG, playoff elimination game for Tennessee. I'm going to coin this term. And what is the definition of this term, you ask? Well, Tennessee's playoff chances right now, according to the ESPN FBIs, are looking around 50%, a 1 in 2 chance. Well, if Tennessee loses this game, judging that they have to go on the road and play Georgia, those chances might drop below 10%. For Alabama, I wouldn't describe it as a PEG, but I would say it's still nonetheless a crucial game. I don't want to just talk all along about the playoff chances because these two teams right now, when they're on the football field, I guarantee you they don't give a rat's freaking of a crap. That's not proper wording. That's not proper wording. These two teams don't care about the playoff chances flat out. They care about beating the crap out of whoever is on the opposing end of the line of scrimmage. This is a rivalry. Last time this was at Neyland Stadium, I was there. There was smoke inhalation in the stadium, and as far as we know, that field goal post could still be in the river. We don't quite know. Who knows where it's gone? Probably living a nice, peaceful life. But anyway, now I'm going to talk about what the model has, because the spread, the Triple H model, that is, the spread has Alabama at 2.5. The Triple H model actually really leans to Alabama. 7.5 point favorite it has for Alabama. Now, you may think, oh, so we're picking Alabama then easily. Not so fast. Let me break this down. So the home field advantage, average standard home field advantage for odds makers in college football hovers around 3.5, right? 3.5 points. This game is going to be much higher than 3.5. This atmosphere is going to be bumping. Now, Neyland Stadium last year against Georgia just broke the decibel record for loudest college football stadium ever recorded in one moment. Reached 140 decibels. Florida last week, it reached 125, and there was this crazy viral camera clip of cameras like literally shaking because the stadium was so darn loud. And I want to say this has gone pretty under the radar. This is something I wrote down. Jalen Milroe last year, as the starter at Alabama, avoided Texas, Tennessee, LSU, and Georgia on the road last year. Didn't play any of them on the road. All road teams that Alabama played last year won 7 games or less. The toughest road game that they played last year was Texas A&M with their backup quarterback. You could include the Iron Bowl in that as well. So let me say this, with this in mind. Jalen Milroe this is his toughest road start in his career by far, and this environment's going to be nuts. I can't possibly understate how crazy this atmosphere is going to be. Jalen Milroe has turned the ball over 5 times in SEC play. 5 times. 3 games, by the way, into SEC play. And it's not like Alabama's played juggernauts either, outside of Georgia, of course. Vanderbilt and South Carolina is who they've played. He hasn't taken care of the football these first 3 games. Going into an atmosphere like this, can he take care of the football? That's going to be a huge one, because this is his toughest road start of his career. Now, in terms of the logistics of the game itself, the matchup to watch is going to be Bama's offense against Tennessee's defense. No doubt about it. We've talked about it all week. Bama, 42 points per game this season. That's 8th in college football. Tennessee is averaging 12.2, giving up 12.2 points per game allowed. 5th lowest in college football. So let's unpack this. Let's go into this, shall we? So how does Bama's offense score 42 points per game consistently? What do they do? Well, they're really good at generating explosives. Alabama this season has had 23 plays of 30-plus yards. That's the third most in college football. And in terms of a per-play percentage basis, they're first. They just get so many explosive plays that they get off the field so fast. Bama's defense, might I tell you, they live on the field because this is such a quick-scoring offense. Well, Tennessee, they bend a little bit, but darn it, they don't break. That's a known thing. They have not broken this year. Tennessee has given up 3 30-plus yard plays allowed all season. That's the lowest in the FBS. So you ask, what's going to win this game? Okay. Ryan Williams has been a little quiet since the Georgia game when he exploded for 190-plus yards. Okay. Against Vanderbilt and against South Carolina, I have it right here. He's combined for 114 receiving yards in his last 2 games. So one other thing that I want you to understand is not only is Alabama's offense in general is really dependent. Every offense is to a certain degree. But Alabama's offense especially is really dependent on the big play. That was the case last year as well. Because when you get explosives and you have guys who can beat you over the top, those safeties all of a sudden are going to respect it. And Tennessee will give you some more cover 3, cover 2 looks. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to sell out and we're going to play man and we are confident in our corners, there's going to be a little bit of a fear factor. If Ryan Williams versus Jermod McCoy, if you don't know him, he's a transfer, showed up at Tennessee, went kind of under the radar. He's played like one of the best defensive backs in the nation this year. He's very highly graded in my model. Ryan Williams and Jermod McCoy is going to be the matchup to watch. If they're matched up against each other in man, if Ryan Williams can win that matchup, Alabama's going to generate a lot of explosives. Just saying, because Jalen Milroe can hit that deep ball. Another stat here. Bama versus Vanderbilt and South Carolina these last 2 weeks as a team has 60 carries for 216 yards. That's 3.6 yards per carry these last 2 weeks. Tennessee, as a team, has given up 2.3 yards per carry per game. That's the second lowest in the entire FBS. So now I want to go back to that explosives play because this is why this Ryan Williams and Jermod McCoy matchup and these Bama receivers against these Tennessee DBs, this is why it's so unbelievably important for both sides to win this matchup. Because if Ryan Williams can get beat over the top and you can get those safeties to play out of fear and not confidence, when you get a defense, for example, to play out of fear, to say, gosh darn it, we can't break. We're not going to break. Instead of saying, no, we're confident, we are going to beat you man to man, and we're going to trust our guys. When you can get a defense to play in fear, things start to open up. And the Alabama run game has not been as open these last 2 weeks because they haven't generated a lot of explosive plays. To be honest with you, with Ryan Williams, that matchup is going to be really important because if Bama's able to generate explosive plays, this run game for them that hasn't been open these last 2 weeks could really, 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 really open up. So the Bama offense against the Tennessee defense in general, 2 of the best units in college football with an immense amount of talent on both ends and how they've performed, is going to be huge. I want to specify this isn't 2022 where both teams look like fantastic, elite, juggernaut championship contenders. Both of these teams have looked super vulnerable this year. And this game, I'm going to tell you, it's the third Saturday in October, so usually it is. But this game is highly unpredictable. Because in terms of the Bama defense versus the Tennessee offense, which is one thing we haven't talked about, both of those units have looked incredibly shaky. Now, for starters, let me talk about Bama's defensive backs. 9 of 12 of their guys are newcomers. Okay? And that is something I thought would bite them in the butt against Georgia. But hey, their offense generated so many explosive plays, it didn't matter. Well, against Vanderbilt, it bit them right in the butt. It really did. 9 out of 12 guys are newcomers. And I mentioned this and I've touched on this before, but when you have new guys in a system, and especially against a no-huddle offense like Tennessee, where you have to be on the go, you have to be aware of certain signals, and when you don't have that chemistry and that type of that type of just understanding for when players are going to call what and who's supposed to be where in coverage. Blown coverages can happen. Miscommunications can happen. And against Vanderbilt, I can't tell you how many times where you would see Diego Pavia would find a guy wide open downfield. South Carolina, Mazeo Bennett was open multiple times. This could be the same thing against Tennessee. In SEC play, this Bama pass defense, just in SEC play, we're not focusing on the rest of the non-con games, gave up 240 yards to Lenore Sellers, 250 to Diego Pavia on 20 attempts, 440 to Carson Beck. Bama's pass defense in SEC play has given up a 70% completion percentage. They've given up 930 yards, and they've given up 9.2 yards a pass attempt. Not good. This unit has looked incredibly shaky. Well, keep in mind, Alabama, on the other side, on the split side, Alabama's first in the 247 talent composite. They're ranked fourth in talent in the Triple H model. So this is a talented group and a new group, a lot of new faces. So this could be a get-right game for them. It really could be. This is a game where they could get it together. But, you know, that argument flips itself over as well, because this could also be a get-right game for Tennessee as well. Tennessee's offense, Bama's defense I would have described as looking shaky. Tennessee's offense, I would describe as like a train wreck these last couple weeks. They haven't scored in the first half since Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. And that's not me criticizing the scheme of Tennessee, because that has gotten a lot of traction where people have been criticizing Heupel's scheme. There were throws where Squirrel White was wide open 10 yards downfield, or Chaz Nimrod was wide open, and Nico, at times, Nico missed the throw, or Nico threw it into double coverage. Look, Nico's a redshirt freshman. This is one of those things where he's going to get better. And the tools are there. It's just going to take time. My point being. But I want to talk about this, because not only has Bama's pass defense looked incredibly shaky, but Tennessee's pass offense has looked incredibly shaky. Nico in SEC play has 76 pass attempts, 46 completions, 60%, 524 yards, and wait for this stat, 1 touchdown and 4 turnovers. Not great. I mentioned Tennessee's offense hasn't scored in the first half since Oklahoma. Look, as I mentioned with Bama, this could be a get-right game for Nico. Because like Bama's defense, this is a really talented group with a genius offensive mind in Josh Heupel, who from Drew Lock to Mackenzie Milton at UCF in Missouri to Hendon Hooker at Tennessee has done a great job developing quarterbacks. When you have a redshirt freshman, it typically starts low and then it gets better and better and better. That's the development curve. But I want to say this. Look, I watched South Carolina put up 3 points against Ole Miss, turn around and nearly take this Bama defense to overtime. It is possible that Tennessee gets some explosives going. So I want to say this, because this is a huge X factor. I don't just want to focus on the passing game as well. But Dylan Sampson versus the Alabama defense is going to be really crucial. Really crucial, because I don't know if you guys have watched Tennessee these last couple weeks, but Dylan Sampson's probably the only reason that Tennessee has scored a point. Yeah, that Tennessee has scored a point on offense. That and DJ Lagway throwing a pick that put Tennessee in the red zone. Those have been the only reasons Tennessee's even scored a point. Alabama, however, Dylan Sampson's a workhorse, man. This season, he has 118 carries, 699 yards, and 15 rushing touchdowns in 6 games. He leads the SEC in all 3 of those categories. I told you, when I meant it, when I said Dylan Sampson has completely put this offense on his back. Well, Alabama's allowing 3.2 yards per carry. Even though the secondary has been a little bit shaky, their run defense has been pretty stout. It's been pretty solid. So with that being said, that matchup really matters. So you have 2 incredibly talented teams with a vast amount of potential that have not reached their ceilings yet. For both sides, it hasn't looked pretty. But despite it not looking pretty, both find themselves 5-1. This game is incredibly unpredictable. It could be won in a plethora of different ways. Tennessee could find themselves with Nico, and Nico could reach his potential. Bama, these 4 and 5 stars could start playing like it on defense, and they could reach their full potential. Bama's offense could absolutely destroy this Tennessee defense. Tennessee's defense could shut them down. We don't know, and that's the beauty of this game. So with that being said, I'm going to go over this. My gut tells me Tennessee because of the home field, because of Milroe playing in a really hard road start, because of the atmosphere, because defense is a constant. Offense doesn't necessarily travel. Defense travels. Let me say that. My mind tells me Alabama because of how just shaky Tennessee's looked on offense. And Bama's got a couple woes in terms of their defense, but I would say they're more fixable at the moment than Tennessee's. With that being said, since I have this 50-50 colliding, like flesh and spirit like battle inside of me, that was a really hard way to describe it there. That was a lot. But anyway, I'm going to defer to the model. And the model, since it has Alabama, it's been incredibly effective this season. I'm going to trust it, and I'm going to roll with Alabama. I'm going to put a unit on Alabama to win this game.